Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. With me, I have a really interesting person. She is the mom of 4 sons. She's married to a Grammy Award-winning music producer, and she learned gratitude in a yoga class, and now she is teaching yoga, and she's also a healer that also teaches wellness. And I think her story is quite awesome. And I'm not a mom. I will not be a mom this life, most probably, but I can imagine that being grateful and having to take care of 4 other human beings isn't a really easy thing to do. So I'm sure that we will have lots of things to learn from Nancy. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you.
Definitely. So tell us more about how you learned about gratitude and what happened in the yoga class, and more about what you're doing right now.
Well, as we were talking before we got started, prior to taking that first yoga class, I just was busy, with a mom of babies and toddlers and young school age boys, and I really was, I guess, disconnected from myself in a way that I was too busy caring and being for everyone else. And I really, quite honestly, tried to make it through each day. I didn't really put a lot of time thinking about, wow, I feel really, awesome today, or this is really wonderful. So I began to, I guess, feel, I didn't know it at the time, but I was depleted emotionally, and maybe that caused the physical issues, just maybe a heaviness. And then there was an opening in my schedule at my local gym. They offered daycare, which is, I needed that. So I was like, all right, I can check my boys into the daycare and go take this class. It fits in. And on that day, it's a 1-hour yoga class. And at the end of that class, teacher gave us permission to lie on our mat in Shavasana, which at the end of a yoga class, it's just a beautiful time of being quiet, not needing to do anything, just being still. And I'd never experienced that before. So I started to cry. I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know. I'm like, why am I crying? But I felt really, I'll never forget that day. It was about 10 years, maybe, 13 years ago. It's as if it's still happening. I felt something open up in me. And I knew when I left, there was more that was taking place, and I was curious about what that was. So that's my little journey into learning about, and finding what it meant to be grateful. And that's how I started with learning and becoming grateful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I I think it's pretty incredible that something this simple can have
Yeah.
such a big impact, because like you said, we tend to be usually very stressed out, very running from one place to another, and being
Mm-hmm.
always plugged in, and wanting to do a lot of things. And
Mm-hmm.
by just sitting in that posture, which for our listeners that don't know, is just lying on your back and pretty much just being there. You don't have to do something specific. At least what I know is that you relax every part of your body. This is one thing, but other than that, you don't need to do anything. And it's beautiful how such a simple experience can have such a profound effect. But
Yeah.
I'm really curious, what does gratitude mean for you? How do you define gratitude for you?
I define, that's a good question. Gratitude for me means being very connected to where you are right now. Like, for instance, this morning, I got up, it was still dark, and in that, in the need to get the boys ready for school and get myself taken care of, I had the ability to just wait a minute. I woke up, I was able to get out of bed and just appreciate the beautiful stillness of the day as it began to happen in the quiet. Just learning to be really connected to the moment. It doesn't have to be, because most of our moments are just ordinary average every day. And that's, to me, that's the power of being grateful, is just taking that ordinary average day, this ordinary school morning, and being really aware that, wow, we can make this a fantastic morning, even in the midst of needing to get somewhere at a certain time. And that's the big deal for me, is feeling my feet literally connected to the floor and making that connection with my heart and my body, that this is the day that I've been given to live, and I'm gonna really own it, whether it has unexpected things that may not be what I was hoping for, or really cool things like sharing with you this morning. I'm gonna really take that in and own it, and just be really thankful that I get to do this, get to live today, and to share.
I love it. I love it, and it's one of the things that I always talk about, and I think this is so important, because we when we think about our lives, we look for goals in the future that will make us happy. Like, I don't know, when we when we will be grandparents, let's say, or when we will
Mhm.
be, I don't know, stars or celebrities, or I don't know, things like this, let's say. We think that in that moment we will reach happiness, we will reach some place that will ensure our happiness forever. And what I love about what you just said is the fact that we can experience each day, each simple day, each uh, let's say boring day, like it's like this routinely, um,
Yeah.
in a different way. We can appreciate it more and see the amazing things that are actually happening, and they get amazing by the fact that we appreciate them so much. And I think that you went into something that's very beautiful, and I can really relate to that, and I can really feel when you
Yeah.
were explaining that you were appreciating those moments, and those moments actually make your day more full. Brother David Rust, Steindl Rust. He's one of the most well-known people when it comes to gratitude. Has a quote that
Mm.
says something about gratefulness being the great fullness of life.
Mm.
And
That is awesome.
yeah, and I think it's great for what you just said. It's uh, you enjoying the great fullness of life in the little things. And I think this is a great point to think about. Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite quote on gratitude?
Well, I have a few, and I wrote them down, so I didn't quite memorize them all. But one that I really love, Rumi and Mother Teresa, and the Rumi quote that I love, because it's just right now, I'm like, wow, this is so true. Rumi is, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. Like,
Mm.
so simple, but let the beauty of what you love be what you do. I love that one. And it just speaks to just being able to be a mom, a wife, yoga teacher, or coach. It's like, that's who I love to do that. That's who I am. I'm not this person or that situation. This is who I am. And I have the choice to love it or to dismiss it. So that's really heavy. And then the one that's really awesome is another one by Mother Teresa, which is so true today. Peace begins with a smile. So I would say those two uh, it's really timely today, and I love both Rumi's work and then Mother Teresa. Really love her. So
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
yeah,
We humans connect through smiles. We When we see another person smiling, it's much easier to connect with that person, to see that they are
yeah,
friendly, uh, they're open, and
yeah.
yeah, it's really beautiful. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, I kind of been experimenting in I teach a lot of classes, and if I at times in my life I've walked in a hurry or late or nervous, that totally affected the whole class. They picked up on that. I didn't say anything, but if I walk in, check all of my baggage in at the door before I open it, and if walk in with a smile, oh my gosh, that could change the outcome of people in there that I don't even know what they have going on, but maybe that class was their bright spot, and just by me walking in, leaving my stuff out the door and smiling, because I am thankful to be there, that can just totally change their day. So that simple little smile that we sometimes get so caught up and forget to do, it's like that's all you need to do is smile like you
Hmm.
and I are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing is that even in our voice, you can hear the smile. When we are smiling, you can hear it. It's something really interesting
Mm,
between people, that you don't even need to see another person to know that that person is smiling. But
yeah.
you mentioned leaving your baggage at the door, and
Mhm.
um, what do you do when it's hard to be grateful, when things aren't going your way, maybe you're stressed out
Mhm.
or things like this? What do you do then?
I have learned, I didn't always do it, I have learned to give myself permission um, to own my feeling in that situation. And if possible for me, it depends on the time of day or whatnot. Maybe I'll just take uh, a walk. We live in a nice area, and I just take a walk outside to literally reset. It's like I'm walking away from what it was that I was allowing to own me. But if I can't do that, then I try to be really mindful and not react, because the first thing you want to do is, for me, is like get defensive, cover my cover my territory. But just to take a moment to pause. Like, okay, do I really need to think that or say that? What is it? Is it going to really help me by putting that out there? What is it going to really do? More times than not, it's going to make the situation magnified and become even more, if it's not a good thing, even more nervous, tense, or stressful. So I'm really placing ownership of just being, zipping my lip, or taking a step back and really seeing the situation for what it is, just a temporary blip, not like a life altering, you know, uh, scenario. But that is what I've really had to own and learn. And it really does, it really does help. And the walking, if that's available, that's, for me, that's huge. It just physically shifts what was into, just put it into perspective.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. And we sometimes get stuck in all kinds of thoughts and thought
Hmm.
patterns, and just doing something physical like this, like going out, breathing fresh air,
Yeah.
um, moving our body, getting out of our routines, it creates something new for us that leaves room for gratitude. And I love this. And another thing that um, I think it would be useful for our listeners. I'm sure that you know about pranayam, right?
Hmm. Yes. Life
And
force.
yeah, yeah, breathing
Hmm.
exercises are also great in these types of situations, right?
Actually, yes, I should have brought that up. That is huge. And you can certainly do even, even three full deep breaths will can clear that heaviness from your heart and from your head, and kind of reset. So that is definitely a tool to alleviate or shift the perspective of what you thought was, a really big deal, or you're making more. Yes, breath work is definitely something that's available to every one of us. And just giving yourself permission to take that little pause to breathe. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's right. In fact, I've used that many a time. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Would you like to do this right now? Like the three breaths?
Yeah.
Someone may be listening to us and may not have the best day. And
Yeah.
if we would do this together, it might actually be helpful.
I would love that.
All right. So I will let you lead the way, and
Okay.
we will do this together.
All right. That sounds wonderful. So how I like to start, either if I'm with a client or in class or by myself, is just take a moment to, if you can, to close your eyes. And if not, just find a focal point. Allow yourself to become aware, if you're seated, to have your back resting in a chair and feel your bottom sitting down, or really make a note that you're feeling your feet connected in your shoes to the ground. So make that grounded connection of your body, standing or sitting. And then take a moment to recenter for just a minute. And then as that begins, you can place a hand, if it's available, on your belly and chest, or have your hands be soft. And gently inhale through the nose, allowing that breath to travel from the belly all the way, centering around the heart, the lungs, flowing through the neck and the face, and exiting through the top of your head. Pause and gently guide the breath back down again from the face, the neck, the heart, lungs, back into that beautiful spaciousness that is becoming warm in the belly. Pausing here. Inhale slowly as you thoughtfully travel and guide the breath all the way up once more through that heart center, lung center, neck, your face, top of the head. Pause. Warmly and lovingly flow the breath back down slowly with that same length as the inhale, back down to place itself once more back lovingly to the center of who you are at the belly. Pause. Once more, take an inhalation, slow and full through the nose from the belly deep, as you guide and travel the breath all the way up once more through the top of the head. Pause. Slowly, with intention and equal length, travel and guide the breath slowly and fully and lovingly back down to that softness, the beauty, and the truth of the belly. Pause and notice. And if the eyes were closed, open them. And just notice now that you're able to recenter and give yourself a full experience of being present wherever you are at right now with you.
This is wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
I really loved it, and I'm sure that our listeners will be enjoying. Will have already actually enjoyed this quite a lot. I have. I really feel even more calm than I was, and more centered, and yeah, beautiful guidance. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I know that small, again, that's such a simple act, but it's so powerful. And I actually really, I felt it. I felt it too. And it is it's a simple thing, but it is such a gift, that each of us have the ability to use it to self-calm and to self-soothe and reconnect, which it's available to all of us, which is really great.
Exactly, like gratitude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's one thing that might also be helpful for our listeners. Usually when we are stressed out, we tend to breathe from the higher part of our lungs, like
Yes.
and that's not very helpful for us because we get even more stressed out.
Yes.
And that's why this is very helpful, because we breathe more from the lower part of our lungs, right? And
Hmm.
we get to calm down, and we get back in our center, and we
Mm.
see the world very differently.
That is very true. And I think for most of us, because we take our breath for granted, because it just is,
Yeah,
that you don't realize that most of us do breathe. And that was totally my story. You breathe from the lungs, you react and respond, and um, you're not using that whole other area of the body. Because that's interesting. One of my clients hired me to initially do personal yoga training with her, and what I thought we would be doing was completely different. She hired me to help her breathe. She said, I have a really stressful job and a long commute, and I need to learn how to breathe. So it taught me what I needed to do to really bring that to her. And I learned from her that learning to breathe fully, it is a process. It's going to feel awkward if you've never done it. Most people are like, I don't see the value in this. What are you talking about? But as I've been a student of pranayama and taken trainings and certifications myself, I'm like, wow, it's pretty basic, but really powerful in what it can do physically and emotionally and spiritually. So
definitely.
I encourage
Definitely.
everyone just to spend just a little bit of time. You don't even need a great deal of time, to quietly in the morning or evening, or if you're able to be outdoors, work on that, because it really does help calm you if you're stressed or needing to just have a different perspective on a situation that's going on, or how to respond, to check in with that breath, and connect with your gratitude part.
Exactly, and it
Yeah.
calms the mind.
Oh.
That's very important.
Mm.
Like I use it sometimes when I get like 1,000 thoughts per minute, and I think about all
Yes.
kinds of things, and
Yes.
it just calms down the mind, and you get more centered and more in tune with a wiser part of yourself, I think.
Very powerful. Yes, because our minds have very, very active, and the chatter controls us more often than not. And that's checking in with your breath, or just gently using the fingertips to tap into your wrist or heart center a little bit, is just a grounding, centering vehicle, uh, to bring about that inner peace, which radiates on so many levels to others.
Exactly. But getting a little bit back
Yeah.
into gratitude, um, beyond that experience that you had in the yoga class, do you
Mhm.
have other experiences with gratitude that you feel that were really transforming or really powerful for you, for your experience in life?
Um, yes. One of them was hmm, two actually. Just very, very personal, but my journey into becoming more grateful, actually, with my mother-in-law. She came to stay with us and visit, and it was a rainy day. She was getting ready to travel back to across country, and of course she wanted to see her grandson, so she woke up early to eat breakfast with us and came with us to take them to school. And that in itself was beautiful, to completely do that. And then it was raining, and instead of just saying goodbye to the boys at the curb, she got out of the car on a rainy day and walked them from the car to the door. And I'm like, okay, gee, immediately went, gee, it makes me look bad. But I'm like, oh my gosh, to be able to completely set aside your whatever, because she was so grateful to have her grandsons and to be able to do that. It was such a simple little blip in the road, but it really, I go back to that when if I'm struggling or, my journey. I was like, wow, that opened up doors for me. For instance, we have teenage sons and two sons who are adult, and that time is zips and erases by. And what that little gift of my mother-in-law did, it really helped for me to center and be really grateful for every day, because I now, if I didn't know it before, it really became full to me that how quick time flies by. And I really want to savor each day that I have with our sons, because I know they're going to be out in the world working, creating their own families, doing their own thing. And I only get this little bit of time. So why do I want to spend it being distracted and busy in my mind or in my world when I could just enjoy their perspective? So that was that little blip, her action opened up doors for me to pause and just be really grateful and appreciative of, like I said, the everyday ordinary, which is 99% of life. And it truly is a game changer on so many levels.
Yeah, I just remember something that I wanted to add, and
Yeah.
it adds beautifully to your point. You mentioned breathing, and that people don't think it's that important, or things like these, but it's actually something that we do every single day, every single
Yes.
moment. It's something that's uh, like you said, like it's 99% of life, and this is life actually. And at least in
Yeah.
my experience, life is much more the day-to-day things than it is big successes and big recognition, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
buying uh, the best car in the world, or an
Yes.
airplane, or I don't know. Life is much more these day-to-day things, and that's why, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude is so important and powerful, because you will enjoy this life, these things that are so important, that you can enjoy each day, or you can choose to not do so. But isn't life more
Yeah.
beautiful when you do?
Well, exactly. And I think what I learned is, if you're withholding from yourself, holding all of that happiness, abundance, joy, waiting for this, big gathering to take place. So I'm going to be really, man, I can't wait for this family reunion or the Grammys or, this big dinner. I'm going to be so happy when I do that, or when my son graduates. It's like you're holding your breath, withholding on yourself and the very people in your life, because putting you're stuffing it down, and it's going to all come out, and then it's like, well, then what about what about the life you got to live today? Maybe you got up early and got to see a sunrise, or you just got to smile that you know, your husband came home with good information, or, somebody said that what you said or did really impacted them. What about all of that simple stuff? Wow, I actually sat down and ate dinner on time tonight. How cool is that? It's like, instead of putting all of this off, waiting for these, maybe annual events or this big award ceremony, I can be so happy when all of this takes place. It's like, gosh, that's almost a slap in the face to the creator in the universe, that you're not placing all of that really neat stuff that you have within you out there for yourself, and for others. That was my takeaway. That's kind of what I operated from years ago. Was I'm going to put off enjoying stuff right now, because I'm going to wait until we travel on our vacation, or when everybody, when all these guests come, or when we have this big, award show, then, then I'm going to shine. It's like, oh gosh, really? Why? So that,
Exactly.
yeah. So that is, yeah, just giving all of that to each day, no matter what the day has, just in breathing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've also had another experience that I'm sure that you can relate, or you even had a similar experience. Like I've been working with people that are locally famous, let's say,
Mm.
like speakers that are on stage, and they have like, I don't know, 300 people in the crowd or even more,
Mm.
or they have been on TV and things like these. And what was interesting for me was the fact that other than that moment of being famous, uh, they were still humans,
Yeah.
somehow, and they much more of their life was not on stage, not on the TV, in the TV set. It was
Mm.
life. And that got me thinking as well, that it's important uh, to enjoy the other part, not just being there in front of a lot of people and enjoying one type of success. That was very interesting for me.
That is actually very fascinating. From our perspective, I can share, with you and your audience. We live in Nashville, which is kind of like considered like, entertainment. One of the big entertainment centers of the United States. I mean, there are others, and we've had the availability to meet many of these music celebrities, and that's what I've learned is we have these big moments where they're up for awards, and we've all gotten to attend these award shows and be applauded. My husband himself has won some awards, but it's just that little blip, and if you're putting everything in that little moment, you know and downplaying all that hard work, because people don't realize that all what you see from a celebrity, you see this big polished really cool moment, but then back away from that, and we're all the same. We all have struggles and joys and heartaches and setbacks and really cool things to give, but at the heart, each one of us is just working to make it through life, learning and giving. And that's I guess that's what I've really been observing with these shows that we've gone to. It's like, what, that moment is really cool, but taken away from that, they're just like us. They're going to go get in their car, go to their home, wake up, maybe have coffee or tea, maybe walk the dog, yeah, have to write some more songs, go to some business meetings. They're doing what all of us are doing. And it's really cool to have that moment, but that's what it is a moment. But all the other stuff is just as meaningful and valuable uh, as that one blip, that shining star. We're
Exactly.
all, yeah,
And I'm
pretty
mentioning this,
powerful.
sorry to interrupt, and I'm mentioning this because
Yeah.
most of us, or a lot of people, look up to these people and think that this is what I want to do, this is who I want to
Hmm.
be. But we are biased. We don't realize that it's actually just a small part of the whole picture. And in order for us to actually be happy, because when we see that person, we somehow think that if we would do that or be that person, we would be happy. And I
Yes.
think it's important to see the whole picture and to understand that we can do things right now, and we don't have to wait to win a Grammy, or to win uh,
Yes.
an Oscar, or I don't know.
Yes. That's exactly right. Each of us has that ability to put that day to work daily with attention and intention. That is very, very significantly tied into gratitude. I guess that's how I it learned how to become really grateful was being mindful and then seeking to be attentional with intention into seeing all of the good things and being thankful for even a little thing that, you know, I woke up in a home that had electricity, that I had the ability to to lead fitness classes and to help others. But yeah, that's a big part of it. Just seeking to learn how to enjoy that moment, the day-to-day moments, being
Hmm.
present and spending attention and intention in cultivating that positivity and that gratefulness that's available to, you know, every day that you have a life. It's not
Exactly.
just for those little, like you said, those little special events or ceremonies, or, you know, it's each and every one of us can be that star on the stage in our own day-to-day life.
Hmm.
And I
That's
think
so
that we don't,
beautifully said. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't think people don't see that. They're like, oh, I'm just a, you know, whatever. It's like, no, that's not true. You can be that star in your job at the office, or if you have a virtual job, fitness instructor. Um, we can each do that. And that's so cool.
Exactly.
Gosh.
Exactly. You also mentioned that you've learned gratitude, and I'm curious if you have a message that you would tell your younger self about gratitude, like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, or
Mm.
at some point in the past when you weren't really that grateful and you weren't that happy.
That gosh, that's I know I was thinking about that this morning, or as I started my day. In the past, I thought who I was the sum of what I did and how other people, what they had to say about what I did or what I looked like. So I placed my ability to be happy or fit in or comfortable based on what I put out externally, and based on the observation or feedback. And if it wasn't good, or, you know, it was negative, then I allowed that to make me be, oh, unhappy, not worthy, not good enough, based on what, you know, putting out these feelers, you know, asking the universe or others to say who I was. As I learned the art of gratitude, I was asked to go travel within to my, you know, spirit, soul, or heart, and say, is that really true? Because that person said that I acted funny, or they didn't think I had value. You know, is that really true? Pause. No. You know, my friend said that I really helped her today by listening to her, by supporting her, by listening. A former yoga student told me that, you know, you really impacted my life more than you'll ever know. Um, so it's like, oh, okay, I have something of value that, unbeknownst to me, gave something meaningful to another, that I have within me, the gifts and ability that are mine, that can really help other people. And they aren't like earth shattering, oh, you know, super talented or supernatural. They're just ability to relate, to listen and support by listening, and just be really present in another person's company. And that began my shift to go inward and really pull out from within me, what do I have that is mine, that can be cultivated and that was given to me, rather than looking outwardly to think that that's going to make me who I am. That was a process that's, you know, really began, like I said, probably about 13 years ago. It was just a really pivotal time in my life to move from where I was to where I am today.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
From my point of view, this is actually appreciating yourself and seeing your qualities and
Yes.
seeing the good in you. Because indeed, we have been taught to always improve and always see what's not okay, and also the media is always trying to make us feel not good enough one way or
Mm-hmm.
another. And doing this indeed is quite powerful, and it's quite important for all of us to remember to appreciate ourselves as well, not just others but ourselves. We are important also, you know.
Yes, each one of us is significant. Each one of us matters, and we're here for reasons known and unknown. And that is very true. I think I agree with you that we're kind of taught to think that we're going to grow stronger and become more if we expose what we think are our weaknesses and shortcomings and failures. Well, if I expose that and call myself out, then, oh, I'm going to all of a sudden become better and stronger, when in fact you're fixating and focusing on what you think is not good. But how can you become more if you don't take a moment to reflect on current current or past successes or strengths? That is how the real growth of gratitude and forward movement becomes, when you look on what you've already done and what you have, and then build and grow on that. I never
Definitely.
got anywhere in life by beating myself up. It did nothing for me. I can tell you that for sure. It did absolutely nothing. It kept me stuck.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've done that quite a lot, and the beautiful thing is that this happens to all of us. Like even the big ones, the people that we hear about a lot, even they have times when they struggle with this. And what separates ordinary people, let's say, from them is the fact that they went on, and even though they had that, they also had the appreciation for their own gifts, and they chose to give their gifts to the world. But
Mm-hmm.
in as an ending to our time together, we're nearing the end of our interview, and I would like to ask you if you have some people in your life that you are grateful for and that you would like to mention, like people that have impacted you
Yeah,
along your journey, or people that just make your life more beautiful every day.
I would love to do that. Outside of my family, a huge impact in my life is a nun by her name is Sister Carol Lee, and I attribute her ability to see past what at the time in my life I was in my late 20s, to see past what I thought were all of my failures and shortcomings, and just say, Nancy, I'm putting you in charge of this 3-month food donation and clothing donation holiday project, where we're going to give food boxes and holiday boxes to families and individuals in need. You're in charge of that. You need to handle that. And she just believed in me and just said, this is what it is. But she opened the door of a new way of being. And she has always been just incredible, giving and loving. So she's the one who allowed me to really see the value and want to volunteer and help others. Just her belief in saying, you don't need to have any credentials, just come and do and you'll learn. Um, and of course, my parents are they've always been constant, consistent, very loving and kind. And my husband's parents were the epitome of just unconditional love and giving. And my husband, I've learned a lot from him about what it means to be a really thoughtful person and parent. Had it been up to me, I had tend to be a little bit sometimes really fiery and impatient. He's very calming and is really treated our sons well, and I've learned from him. And then my own our own sons, I've learned a lot from them about what it means to be a good person and mom. They've called me out on some of my things, and they've leaned on me and asked me for guidance. So I would say those people, my family and Sister Carol, and I know I'm forgetting people, but those things immediately came up on my mind, so I had to share.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are lots and lots of people,
Yes.
but when I ask this question, I know that the first ones that come up are the ones that needed to come up and that were important for us, and that had a beautiful impact on us. So we're like I said, we're nearing the end of our time
Yeah.
together, and I would like to know for our listeners where they can find you, where can they see your work.
I would love for them, if they would like, to stop by. I have a website, nancystevenscoaching.com. On that site, it's more exclusive to health, wellness, and life coaching. You can use that to email me. My Facebook business page is Nancy Stevens Health and Wellness Coaching. I would love to, if you have any question, I would love to be able to help you if you drop me a line via email, just to answer your questions, or send you information about what it means to start your gratitude journey or to be mindful, because it truly is a game changer. And that's where they can find me, on my website or on my Facebook page. I am on Instagram as well, and I'm trying to think. Instagram is Nancy, Nancys coaching. So it sounds like Nancy's Coaching is my Instagram handle. I know. But yeah, I just love to share and inspire others, and figure that that's my journey. My walk on earth right now is to heal through kindness, love, and gratitude. And you really helped bring that out today. I want to say this has been really powerful. I didn't know what to expect, and wow, you're amazing.
Thank you
You
so
really
much.
are.
I'm
Gosh.
really glad that I did, and yeah, I'm really glad that I'm able to do this. It's one of the reasons why I asked the last question, because when we are asked what are we grateful for, who are the people that we are grateful for, it always brings us back to gratitude and to a beautiful feeling. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the Gratitude Podcast. It has been great having you.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me and for offering this incredible podcast to help so many people.
Thank you.
Thank you.